co-founder of Binance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big round of applause.
My name is Changpeng Zhao. Most people in the industry call me CZ. I did prepare some slides for this presentation actually. So Binance is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. Can I just see a quick raise of hands? How many people know Binance? So quite a lot. How many people own cryptocurrency? Okay. And then how many people think money is important to you? Everybody. All right, so the guys who didn't raise your hands for the second question, but who did raise your hand for the third question, just remember yourselves. And I think you will find what I'm going to talk about, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, a little bit contradictory to your understanding. So I'm going to talk about a new type of money. It's a decentralized type of money, cryptocurrencies. So with this new type of money, is now able to power a very different type of new organizations, a decentralized type of organization. And this type of organizations have tremendous growth power. So you can achieve phenomenal growth. And to lead this kind of organization requires a different mentality. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different type of leadership, which is kind of in line with this conference. And then in the end, I'll talk a little bit about the charity and the near future. So a new type of money. So I'll quote this quote from Rousseau from 250 years ago. A man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. So if I asked you, are you a slave today? You're probably going to be in denial. It's like, no, I'm not a slave. I got my freedom. I have my freedom of speech. We're a fairly democratic country, South Korea, and you get to work, you get to keep your money, and you get to spend it. But in the last part, do you really get to keep your money? Do you really get to spend it the way you want? I think in most cases, yeah, you do. But if I give you, say, well, if I give you $1 million, or if you just hold on to your money that's in your bank today and do nothing, you become poor over time. You're constantly being robbed. You're being robbed by inflation, by quantitative easing. People are just printing money. Today they don't even need to print it, right? So it's just a number in a computer in a bank. It just flips it, you become poor. You don't get that money. So you are a slave today, in terms of money. Your money are being enslaved. But there is hope. So there's a new type of money, cryptocurrencies. I will not spend a lot of time on this one, but I think most of you guys know it is limited supply. It is issued according to a protocol. So not just some random person with random powers just magically making it happen. And you're in control. The network cannot reject your transactions if you follow the protocol. And it works for large and small transactions. And you can send it anywhere in the world. The last two points actually are quite important for a decentralized organization. So I'll come to those points a little bit later. With this type of money, now we can power a different type of organization. An organization that's very different from traditional organizations, which there's a few things that you don't need anymore. Number one, you don't need busy investors. And this is a really good thing. I'll explain why in a few seconds. And you don't need bank accounts. And this is a very good thing. Again, I'll explain why that is in a few seconds. And you potentially don't even need an office. So Binance has teams in 40 different countries today. And you don't need managers, you don't need org charts. So you can have a completely flat organization. And you don't need to run like traditional TV ads, commercials, stuff like that. So Binance till today, we have not ever run a banner or a TV commercial. So let me give you a case study, which is Binance, which is also service our marketing needs. So Binance, let's start from the fundraising part. So we raised funds on a brand new website called Binance.com, starting from June 14th on 2017. So that's the day when I told my team we're gonna do an ICO. And none of them have ever heard of the term ICO before. ICO is now kind of a bad term, but back then it was actually okay. So that's what we called it, that's what we did. So on the brand new domain, we got 225,000 users to invest in our project. They sent Bitcoin and Ethereum to us as investments over the blockchain. And we were able to raise $15 million equivalent in crypto And we sold 100 million BNB. So that's half of our total supply of the Binance coins. And we did all of this in 2 weeks. So by July 2nd, 2017, we got the $15 million equivalent of cryptocurrencies in our wallets. So to do this in traditional VC ways, I think to raise for a brand new startup to raise to up to $15 million probably takes a couple rounds, basically a couple years. So now with cryptocurrencies, with blockchain, now you can achieve this type of fundraising ability. And what's really important here is not just the money. Look at the 25,000 users we have. So now these are users who are investing in our platform. These are our potential users. What kind of entrepreneur would beg for 25,000 users before they even start? And they have full skin in the game. They give us their money. So this is a different type of mentality. This is a different type of organization. And what's more interesting is because we don't have a bank account, we only accept cryptocurrencies. All the transactions we handle through the blockchain. Now, we can grow in 180 different countries simultaneously. I believe Binance is probably one of the first organizations or companies that grows around the world. If you imagine the world as a globe, we've grown in all directions at the same time, at 80 different countries at the same time. This allowed us to achieve phenomenal growth that was not possible before. Before, most companies, they start in one country, and then they take that country and then move to the next. They usually, South Korea first, and then maybe, I don't know, Japan, East Asia, and then some other continent. We didn't do that. We just went all over the world. So we supported 15 languages from the very beginning, and I think today we support somewhere around 15, 16 languages. The lack of additional languages now because it's mainly due to our ability to support it. So given that type of growth, we were able to become the world's #1 cryptocurrency exchange in about 176 days. So, and this is why, and the amount of buzz that caused also helped our brand reputation. So, and more importantly, we had a very simple business model. You pay a small commission when you use our service. So we no longer need to burn a lot of money to acquire users and then try to sell the data, sell their private data, or try to use their private data to sell ads to them. So we no longer need to rely on the advertising model. So on Binance.com or any of the services we provide, you don't see any ads. So your information is secure. So it's a very simple, transparent business model that's people are able to pay very small amounts because we're using cryptocurrency. You can pay 0.001 cent. That's possible now. So now, in less than 2 years, so coming to this June, it will be 2 years, so almost 2 years. We're now burning 100 million BNB that we sold. So half of our circulating supply, we're committed to burn all of that at the current market valuation, which is 160 times the ICO price, which works out to be $2.4 billion that we're committed to spend to burn the BNB. So this is a new type of organization that we're able to do now. So a lot of this information are pieces and pieces on the internet, but I just want to collectively sort of summarize this for you. So today, Binance is an ecosystem now. So we have Binance Exchange, which is the centralized crypto-to-crypto exchange, which is our main business, which is where most of our revenues come from. But we also have a few other businesses now. So we have the fiat exchanges, which are fully regulated, fully compliant, and we have them in Singapore, Australia, Jersey, and Uganda. You can see that they are spread out among different continents. We did that on purpose. We didn't want to focus on one country. The concept of a country is kind of getting blurred. So you got to think about the world as one. You can't really limit yourself into one location now. You don't have to. But if you don't have to, then your competition doesn't have to. So you got to think about the world as your oyster. So we also have Binance Info, which is a free informational platform for blockchain projects. We have Binance Labs, which is our investment platform investing in blockchain infrastructure projects. We have Binance Research, which issues investment-grade research reports for free. We have Binance Chain, which is our decentralized blockchain, also our decentralized exchange. We have Binance Academy, which is a free information educational portal for blockchain and for beginners. We have Trust Wallet, which is again a decentralized wallet where you hold your own private key. And we have Launchpad, which is a fundraising platform for blockchain-related projects, and that has been very successful. We have Binance Charity, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So today you can use the Binance Coin, which is a new currency, which is a new type of money we created in a lot of these places. So from buying coffee, buying a meal, paying for a hotel room, booking flights, all the way to paying for virtual gifts on live video streaming sites, in games, everything. So anything you can imagine, you can pretty much do. It's still somewhat limited, but it's growing really, really quickly. So let me give you a little bit of let me use this to illustrate the amount of growth we have achieved, right, in the next 4 graphs. Can somebody tell me what this graph is? It started in about 1994-ish, 95-ish. NASDAQ. So the crowd intelligence is just phenomenal in this room. So this is the NASDAQ graph, right? So NASDAQ did pretty well according to this graph. You can see it. But this blue line will become the next blue line, which is flattened in the next slide. So keep track on it. So now this blue line on the bottom is the previous blue line. What's this green line over here now? And another hint, this started in about 2004, August 2004. This is a tech company. This is Google. Right, so Google, so if you think about NASDAQ as a tech internet kind of platform, Google did really well in that path. Google outperformed NASDAQ by quite a bit. And Google, as we know, is one of the most valuable companies in the world today. Remember these 2 lines. These 2 lines will become flat in the next graph because we're going to introduce a new line. So can somebody tell me what this new green line is? Once we put this new green line in there, the first 2 lines become completely flat. This started in 2009, but the first transaction happened about 2010. This is the Bitcoin price. So Bitcoin has achieved the type of growth that puts traditional industries at completely flat. So this is the growth power of blockchain. And now remember this green line, it will become the lower line in the next graph. So the green line before becomes the blue line now. What's the new green line? BNB, thank you. So we are able to outperform the blockchain industry right now. We're one of the few projects that very luckily are able to outperform the blockchain industry if you think of Bitcoin price as kind of an index for the industry. So this is the type of growth we are able to achieve if you look at this graph. So that kind of puts a perspective on when people say Bitcoin crashed, it didn't. When people say, well, a lot of cryptocurrencies, a lot of ICOs are fraud, but they are successful ones, they're good ones. And those are the ones we want to focus on. Those are the ones we want to learn from and grow. So with in this type of industry, we need a new type of leadership. Leadership is really, really important now. So now we need leaders, not managers. In a decentralized organization, you can't micromanage. It just doesn't work. Because some of our team leaders, they don't see their team for like 6 months in person. They have video calls, they have Zoom, Skype, whatever. But you don't see the person, you don't see the guy in person. And the guy wakes up when they want to wake up, the guy goes to work when they want to go to work. We have one person in Korea, he's alone here, and he just works whenever he wakes up. So given this kind of situation, money is important, but mission is much, much more important. So if the guy thinks they're working on a 9-to-5 job, the guy will just do the minimum to not get fired and collect the paycheck. That's not going to work in a decentralized organization. For any decentralized organization, your team has to believe the value that he's working on. It has to be the most important thing, the most meaningful thing that he could potentially work on. So they got to believe in the mission. When you have that kind of mission, our team wakes up and they check their phone, and then before they go to sleep at 2 a.m., they check their phone. If there's a message that they need to reply, they reply before they sleep. If there's something they need to do, they do it before they go to sleep. So there's no working hours. They just work around the clock. And they can take some time off if they're personal events, they gotta take care of something, that's fine. So we give them that freedom, but we also give them that accountability. People want to be accountable. People want to be responsible for things. And freedom is really, really important in this regard. And when you give them that degree of freedom, they achieve a lot. Because they do the things they want to do. So given the kind of decentralized organization, a lot of stuff happens without me knowing it. I don't know what everybody does. We have about 400 people now. So things just happen. I mean, I usually find out after they're done, which is good. As a leader, the other very important thing is transparency and authenticity. So you gotta be yourself. You cannot pretend to be somebody else. Both internal to your company, internal to your team, and also externally to the public. So you gotta have a very high degree of transparency. And with a high degree of transparency, you cannot pretend to be somebody else. You have to be yourself. You have to be vulnerable to your weaknesses, and you have to just admit when you make a mistake. For example, we did have an incident about a week ago, and we're still trying to recover from that. And we had a system upgrade half an hour later. And this also brings to me another point which I didn't have on the slide, which is you gotta be really dynamic. You gotta respond very quickly. You gotta be on your feet. Most planning doesn't really work. If you have a 3-month plan, it changes all the time. So we don't really do a lot of planning. We just roll with the punches and we adjust. And lastly, you gotta have real strong commitment. So you gotta live your values and you gotta build your credibility. So for example, Binance suffered a hack a week ago. Most exchanges this is probably the most damaging thing that an exchange can go through. But our Binance coin dropped about 20% and is already recovered fully. So, and we have not even done our system upgrade yet. So credibility is a new currency. Even though in the trustless technology environment, credibility is a very, very strong currency. So people's gotta believe you. People have to trust you. And commitment is a real key. And you gotta live your values. So one of the things I often ask startup founders is how committed you are. So I'll show you one example. If you're committed enough to tattoo your project logo on your form, then you're pretty committed. So it's not required for everybody to do that, but you gotta do similar stuff, that you gotta live your values. Right? So this is a real tattoo, which I got in Singapore 3 months ago. There's also a new set of rules in our industry. So there's some rules that doesn't work. So basically, if you think Bitcoin or cryptocurrency fits into the existing asset class, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work anywhere. So if you think it's securities, it's not a securities. If you think it's a commodity, it's not really a commodity. If you think it's a currency, it's actually not even really a currency. It's just different. So this is like classifying cryptocurrency into an existing asset class. It's like classifying cars into a breed of horse. I mean, it performs some of the similar functions, but it's just not a horse. Right? It's just different. And if you think you can nip Bitcoin in the bud, then you're pretty arrogant and you don't understand it. Cryptocurrency is designed specifically to prevent this. The more you try to do it, the more people see the value of cryptocurrency. So if you try to do that, then it's not going to work. And if you try to ban Bitcoin, many people have tried, then all you're doing is actually just excluding yourself from the future of finance. And where we stand today, we have a neighbor a little bit north of here, and they try to ban technology, they try to ban internet. And that didn't work out, that didn't hurt anybody else, that didn't work out too well for themselves. So I think if you have those kind of thinking, then it's kind of not too good. But luckily, there are many progressive regulators around the world now, and they're embracing it. My friend Jason Xu from Taiwan is in the audience right over here. And so we have many regulators who are embracing this technology. If you don't want to be left out in the future, you have to embrace it. There's no choice. It's inevitable. There is a slightly different set of rules in play, well, what I call social contracts. So there's a set of expected behaviors that you should behave. Right? You got to be transparent. You got to be forthcoming because you're taking a lot of money from public people. You got to have information distribution. You got to have communication. You can't leave people worried all the time, and you can't do scams. So there's social rules in play, and we're still trying to figure out what those are. But I think basically, in this type of new organizations or new environments, you should just hold very strong to your own principles and do the right thing. So, very quickly about a new future. If you think you can just ignore cryptocurrency, then you're just making yourself poorer over time. So the sooner you can join, the better. So now we're into the environment where you no longer need to beg VCs. There's plenty of money around. It's quite easy to raise money if you have a good project. right? Instead, you gotta beg your users. You gotta communicate with them. You gotta have your users buy in. And you don't need to hold board meetings and all these other old formalities. You gotta focus on your product. You gotta make your product good. And you don't really need such formal communication channels anymore. We do everything through social media. So I tweet a lot. So I can only manage Twitter myself, and that's the max because I got other jobs to do. But I do tweet a lot, and it kind of works. So you should give that a try. There's a couple other things you don't really need. For example, everybody has slightly different preferences. For me, I don't need a suit. I never wear a suit. So wherever I appear, I always have a Binance swag, and that's brand loyalty. So I prefer a Binance swag, which is a very cheap polo shirt, over any expensive suit. Lastly, let me talk about a new type of charity. So now, with this blockchain technology, you can enable a 100% transparent charity. So all the way from the donors, donating money to the intermediaries, which we call charity programs, to schools, kids in Africa, you can track this whole thing. You can track all the way from the donation to the end beneficiary. This achieves a couple of different, two main different things. It removes any possibility of corruption. We know there's a very high percentage of corruption in the traditional charity space. But more importantly, it gives you a sense of accomplishment when you know which kid you have helped, you know which school that your money went to. When you have that kind of achievement, the satisfaction of doing good things in the world will become much greater. And we have built a platform already over the last year to enable that. So we have Binance Charity, which is a platform that allows you to see very nice visual way where your money is going. All the money is tracked on the blockchain, but it provides a much better visual way. So in the last 3 months or so, we were able to help more than 5,000 kids in Africa. And we have raised more than $4.8 million US. Actually, this number is now 5 million because we just raised, just before I came to this talk, there's a consensus conference in New York, and they just raised another 200K additional, and Block itself donated 100K to us. Block is another blockchain incubator organization. So, and when I did this talk about a month ago in this hotel, the next day somebody donated $500,000 from Crypto.com, Bobby. So this type of transparent charities are able to attract very confident donations now. So today, one BNB is worth about 24 US. One BNB can sponsor 76 days of a kid's lunch in Uganda. And this is not just about the lunch. The lunch is important because if there's no lunch, the kids don't stay in school. When there's lunch, the kids come back to school. So this is not just about the lunch, this is about the education for the kids. So now with one BNB, you can sponsor a kid for 1 full semester in Africa. And we think this is really, really important for enabling the bottom 1 billion people on this planet. So please be generously donate to Binance Charity. The website is Binance.charity. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation. I still have like a couple of minutes left, but that's all I have. So I think I have a couple of minutes to take questions, right? Yeah. So if anyone have any questions, please do shout. I think there's some questions back there. So no one over there.
Hello. Yeah, it's again good to see you again. As we know that blockchain industry is type of new industry in the world, and as one of the leaders in the blockchain industry, I'm curious about what efforts that you have been trying to do in order to work with the regulators across the world, and what efforts that you are seeing as the most important efforts you have been doing so far. Thank you.
Sure. So actually, unknown to most people, Binance probably engages with the highest number of regulators around the world. And also, Binance also has the highest number of licenses, if you call them licenses, around the world. Most of them are from small countries so far. So we have engaged publicly, say Malta, Singapore, Jersey, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Uganda, Toga, there's many, including Korea, Taiwan. Many different, I can't name all of them on top of my head, but because given how global we are actually the most engaged. Some regulators we do find tough to engage, especially from the larger countries, because they're kind of more complex. It's just a larger type of organization. We do find smaller countries. Bermuda, for example, is a very small country, which we engage very tightly. Those smaller countries move faster. It's much easier to engage. So, but overall, we do spend a lot of effort in this area. And I can share more details with you if you're interested. Is my time up, or do I have a few minutes?
질문 있으시면 하나만 더 하겠습니다. Only one more question.
Okay. I'll take one more question then. Wherever. I think we've got to find the guy with the mic.
You can choose.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, I don't want to drag on this conference for too long. I'll stay outside for about half an hour, but we do have a very busy day today. We have a major system upgrade coming. So I'll just stay outside for about half an hour. And thank you very much.